Everyone, I'm really excited to be here today. I am trying to stream on Instagram and on Facebook at the same time, which, I'm not the techiest person, and so I can see that Instagram is in reverse, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm going to just start and do the best I can to kind of get in all the information that I want to share with you today. I'm really excited to talk about this, and I know I've said this every day this week about why I'm excited, but this is really the reason that I started the Drawing Lab. I started it to bring drawing into the heart of classrooms because it's kind of a personal story, but I'm going to share it, and then I'm going to get into the heart of why I believe drawing is really essential in schools. But before 9/11, now a good while ago, but I was an artist. I was selling my work. I was showing my work around the country, and I was doing really well as an artist. Like I was kind of, my career was kind of burgeoning. And then 9/11 happened, and I really had kind of a crisis in faith about what I was doing as an artist. I loved making my art, but I also felt a little bit selfish about making my art and selling it to people that could afford my art. And then I'm just going to turn this a little bit. And then not feeling like I was really making a difference in the world. So I felt like the people that could have my work, that was great, but it felt like I really wanted to be more about changing the world for the better and using what I knew about creativity in a way that would help other people. And I wasn't really sure about the shape of how that would unfold, but I knew that with my background, I have a background in both studio art, but also a master's in education, and was always really interested in this kind of idea of creativity and the creative process and how you kind of share that, how you help people kind of access their creativity. So at the time, I was really, really interested in helping kids, middle school kids and kids in high school and even younger kids in elementary school kind of understand that we're all different, but we are all the same. We're all one human race. And I really felt like the drawing was a way to bring people together. And so I was asked by a friend who had gotten a grant to do some work in the Cambridge public schools. And we didn't really know what we were going to do. And we developed this project together in which the outgrowth for me was creating the Drawing Lab. And it really started in the schools. Everything that I developed from working in the schools and not knowing what I was going to do, but knowing that what I needed to do is really essential. I needed to get into the classroom, work with kids, help them understand their creativity and their power, and that drawing shouldn't be something that was kind of only in the art room. And I love all art teachers. And that year I made one of my best friends in the art. She was the art teacher in the Cambridge Public School. But I was really interested in getting the language of drawing into the heart of classrooms because I felt like that was so essential. That for most kids and for most people, really, by the time you're like 5, 6, 7, you start to lose connection with your innate visual voice. That we all have this, like we all doodle when we're little. We all go through these certain stages of drawing. If you look at some of Rhoda Kellogg's work, like she really kind of maps out all across the world, like how we go through stages of scribbling and doodling, and Howard Gardner as well wrote about this. But so we go to this point, and then like in schools, it just kind of gets locked off. We lose kind of connection with that because we need to learn to read and do math and do all these other things. And kind of art gets pushed to the art room if we have an art classroom. I mean, a lot of schools don't even have art classrooms anymore. And if it's in a classroom environment, it's usually in service of something else that we draw to kind of, show a picture that goes with something. And I really want to bring drawing in as a visual thinking tool and for many different reasons. So that's what I was going to talk to you about today. The reasons that I think that drawing and what I've seen through the Drawing Lab is what happens. So the first thing, I put drawing in the heart of schools. And one thing I want to say up front is that I have worked with amazing, amazing teachers in my career, like all across public schools, private schools. And I would say that one of the biggest kind of discussions I've had with teachers is that they themselves are really nervous about teaching drawing or creativity or visual thinking because they themselves don't feel like they have that part of themselves, like they're scared of themselves. So everything that I've developed in the drawing lab is very simple, easy tools that can be used with I've had teachers work with the kids, so it's a way, and I'll talk more about this, but it's a way to kind of build drawing in that no one has to be like good at what I'm talking about, because we all are good. There's no good and bad, and that's really essential. So anyway, I am going to start in on why I think drawing, or what the drawing lab does in school. So the first thing is building community. So I'm just going to put a big circle here. And this was really the central reason, like I said, is that I wanted to have the drawing be a vehicle or a tool to build community in the classroom. And the way that that's done is that everything that we do in the drawing lab, it's all about kind of making your own mark, that we all have our own way to make a bumpy line, a broken line, that we all have this very, even if I wanted to make a bumpy line just like you, it would always be different. And so when we sit around and look at all of our drawings together, and that's a big part, is looking and reflecting together, that people start to see in the classroom like, oh wow, like Sam's bumpy line and I don't know, Jane's bumpy line are completely different, and no one's is better than anyone else's. And you start to see like we all have our own visual voice, we all have our own way to make sense of this world, and that it starts to build in the classrooms I've been in. The teachers really talk about, like, over the course of the months that they do this work, that the drawing, like the community in the classroom shifts by doing this work together, that everyone's in on it together. And that this kind of leads into my second piece. It builds community. And I would say I'm going to kind of connect this in two ways. It kind of levels the playing field in a sense. I don't know. I'm just going to write that here. But and the way that happens is that I've been in a lot of classrooms where there's some kids with their IEPs, or kids with different learning abilities, or there's a smart kid, and the kids that everyone has their labels, and there's a lot of like, from little kids on, like, people's place in the classroom. And I will say that from doing this all together, if we all draw to music, there's no one drawing that is better than the other, because we're closing our eyes and we're drawing to music, and everyone's drawing to Bach in a different way, or to Miles Davis. And then we lay them all out and we see them, and no one can tell if the A student is there's no way to judge anyone's work. And so there's kind of the deeper level of the drawing lab is these kind of things that happen, is that when we all look together at the 30 drawings and the teachers draw too, we all look at them together, no one knows whose is whose, and that everyone's voice is heard. We talk about the marks that are made, or the way that everyone makes something different on the page, even though we heard the same thing. So we have the same catalyst, we're listening deeply, but then we draw it completely different. So there's that kind of thing that happens in the class, and I've seen it where I start in a classroom, and you probably have had this experience as well if you're a teacher, but there's kids that sometimes the other kids might say, oh no, you can't talk now, or this, you're not. So when we're looking at the work, sometimes at the beginning, the first class or so, it's like, oh no, he doesn't participate, and for me, it's like everyone has a voice, and when we're looking at the drawings, everyone's voice matters and should be heard. And usually it's the kids that maybe don't always have the voice, that this visual thinking, this drawing in this way brings out a piece of themselves. So it really brings out the visual thinkers in the classroom, where sometimes their voice is kind of, they might not do as well writing an essay or in doing well in math. So this is kind of a way to level the playing field in a different way in the classroom. So that's another reason I love to draw in the heart of the classroom. So we're doing these visual thinking kind of exercises, simple. They're all very simple, but when we look at them together, you can notice just the range of everyone's kind of, the range of the marks that they can take on the page. So that's the second thing of why I love to draw in the classroom, is that there's something that happens in building this culture in the community of the classroom through drawing. And that I think is really essential. The next thing, so then the crits, so when we draw in school, and I want to put this in art school, we call them crits, or reflections. And that all voices are heard. And you can see that there's no mistakes, there's no wrong way to do anything. It's like a visual, concrete way to see that we are all different, and that's a beautiful thing. And the drawing really helps you to understand that we are one of a kind, that not one of us is better than anyone else. And I think in this day and age, that's a really important message to get out. And so, in terms of like bullying and other things, that have these kind of exercises where it's like, there's no one of us is better than anyone else. And that is really seen through the drawings. There's no one that they're really different. Someone might be very neat when they draw, and someone else might be more scribbly like me, like might be all over the place. And that's fine. That's okay. That is the beauty of kind of the messiness of creativity, that we all have our visual voice and our way in the world. So the other thing that happens that happens with drawing in schools is that it builds observation skills. So there are important habits of mind that happen, and we spend a lot of time on the 5 senses, and through that so this is, hearing, do a little ear, touch, sight, and sight has a whole extra thing that we do. Taste and smell. So smell, do a little nose, taste, little mouth. So we build our observation skills through really paying attention and drawing to our different senses. And what teachers I've worked with have noticed over time is that by doing these drawing exercises and creativity exercises, that the way that kids write becomes more detailed because of the building their observation skills through drawing. So observation skills is kind of central to the whole why it's important to drawing skills, that you can build deeply on observation skills. Okay, we're going over here, and another reason that I love to draw in schools, and I have so many reasons, I probably could fill this up with 30, and I'm just kind of sticking with, some of my clear ones that I kind of talk about all the time. But it builds important habits of mind. So kind of mindfulness, like slowing down. And then it's also a place/way to deal with emotions. So when we start to use our marks in different ways, then when we use our marks differently, like if I say draw happy, and I have everyone in the classroom draw that happy feeling, we feel it inside, and we draw it just using our marks. We don't draw a happy face, and then we look at the range of all the happy feeling, how we draw happy. When kids kind of go through that exercise and they're having a bad day, I've had many teachers report to me that they'll say, can I just grab a piece of paper and draw out my angry feeling? Or can I have, and they know that it's a tool for them now to use to deal with maybe emotions that they can't express, or they just need to get it out and then they can move on. So I've had a lot of, it's a great kind of moment in teaching to share this way to use drawing, but then they also have that skill within them. Even if they're at home at night and they get into a fight with their mom or something, they can just go upstairs and in their journal or whatever, draw it out. So a lot of the things that, in terms of the visual thinking and using drawing in the schools, it's tools and ways that they can use in the rest of their life as well. So just like we learn to write and use math in other parts of our life, that teaching visual thinking and drawing in the heart of the classroom will have ripple effects in other parts of their life. And that's really why I think putting the language of drawing in the heart of the classroom is essential. It's, it is one piece of the art classroom if you have an art room to learn drawing, but then there's so many other different things. And I'm really talking about drawing as a thinking tool, as a way to challenge the brain. So those are my other and drawing as a thinking tool, meaning that if I want to show how something works, like in science, if I want to show how I would build a solar car, if I want to work out a problem, that when you use drawing as a thinking tool for people that are visual thinkers, that's the way you can kind of use your mind to kind of get your ideas out in the world. And that you can see that, you know, my goal is to help people understand that drawing isn't just for artists. Drawing is for everyone, all over, every day, everywhere. The coaches on the soccer field draw out a play that they want their, you know, players to do. Or, you know, in Patriots land, Bill Belichick is drawing on his little board all the time about how he wants his players to run. So drawing is a way to show how you want something to work, show how it's a way that we kind of can comprehend the world and share our ideas. And so I just had, and let me see, so, and it's so build visual thinking skills, and then I have one more, and I know I've kind of gone on, build visual thinking skills. And then my last one was to just build your brain in new ways. So, you know, there's all these studies now, whether you're young or old, that by challenging your brain in new and different ways, which is what the drawing lab does. I have you do some weird things like draw with both hands, draw to smells, draw to different ways. And by challenging your brain in new ways, you're actually building new neural pathways. That they've shown this in many different ways. And now there's all this new research about drawing helps with memory, helps you learn something deeper. I mean, I could go on and on about all the benefits of drawing. But in the drawing lab, it's kind of this layered, simple approach. So I love teaching drawing. I believe in the power of drawing. I say every day I'm a drawing activist because I've been on this kind of soapbox for like a decade or longer. Even when I was doing work at Harvard with Howard Gardner drawing was my entry point into learning and how I really want to get out kind of the word about the power of visual thinking in the classroom. So if you have questions about anything that I've talked about today, would love to share, you know, any knowledge that I might have with you. I am doing a free masterclass tomorrow. I have the link here. And the masterclass is going to talk about some of these ideas today, but really about bringing messy back, like how we can bring ourselves back to like getting comfortable with messiness. And in the drawing lab, it isn't about drawing something perfectly. A lot of things that we draw, we could actually throw away, but still get the benefit inside of us. So I want you to think about how drawing and making mistakes and maybe some chaos and an open mind really help with cultivating your creativity. So I'm going to do a masterclass tomorrow. I'd love you to sign up. If you can't be there tomorrow, there's 3 other different times that I'm doing it. And if you can't do any of those times, you can watch the replay, but please sign up. I'd love to share with you more about the drawing lab, and thank you for joining me today. And I'm sorry I went a little bit long, but I have so much to talk about in terms of this passion of mine. Okay, thank you. Take care.